Hello and welcome to this episode of the Learning Enthusiast. I'm Chris Simmons, and today I wanted to talk about something cool that I figured out in Lightburn, which is how to do some patterns in Lightburn using just Lightburn. I'll show you a little bit of some of the other things you can do to make patterns too, or to do things, but I just wanted to be able to use Lightburn to do some easy patterns, and that was pretty simple thing that I discovered, and you may have seen in the photo in the beginning, but these are the things, the ones I created just quickly. This is using the fill function. So this is like a stripe, so I'll get a little bit more into that, or pinstripes, or it can be like if you're doing like the sides of a wooden building, so this one is the same, but at a different setting. So I'll go into those settings, and this is kind of horizontal or vertical or whatever you want to say. It's just these kind of lines here. So this is pretty simple to do in Lightburn. I figured it out and how I wanted to do things, and I think it looks pretty good. So that's basically what I'm going to quickly talk about here. So let's go into looking at Lightburn. Let me get that ready, and I'll show you a few things. So here we are. These are my different test things that I did, and you won't be able to see in the regular view of Lightburn. It's when you preview it. So I won't do that yet, and here's the other way of doing things. So you could bring in, and I'll just see if I can highlight this. You can bring in, like, this is actually a brick design that I found on the internet, and just changed it over to a image. It was an image, and I just made it into, traced it. This is another kind of thing. If I pull it up. Could be bricks, could be, roofing material, roofing shakes or something like that. So I did that. This is how I was doing it before, and I was doing a fill pattern. So the problem I found with that is it takes a lot of time, doing these things. So when we go back here, so I have several, and I'm going to preview it, and I'll have to change the screen for a second. It'll take me a second to get to that window, and hopefully you can see these are the different patterns I was able to make. And this is just using basically the fill function, and I'll show you that in a second. So you can see the first one is this horizontal stripe, and then the next one is a vertical stripe. Here's two fills put together, a vertical and a horizontal. And if you see this one here, it's a diagonal kind of a screen kind of thing or something. And then this one here, if I can move it here, there's one that's more of a cross pattern or checkerboard pattern or something like that. And then you can see these ones, which are very interesting. Looks kind of like if you have a CNC router, this is how the path it would go. So how to do that? Very simple stuff. So let me go back to our application, and it's all within the, okay, let me find that real quick. It's all within the settings here, over here on the fill. And you can kind of see it here. If I can move this over, you may not see it. Let me just move so you can probably see it over here in the, what you call interval. So it's in the line interval. So using the different line intervals, you can affect how this will work. So if we go and look at each one, let me just make sure other window. But if you go and you look at each one, we can then, we can see here in the cuts editor. Hopefully you can see that over here. As we look down here to the line interval, I use 3 millimeters. That gives a good distance, but you can try whatever. This is also their lines per inch. It's the same number, but I'm just trying to do the intervals between each line. And you can see this first one is pinstriped thing. So if we go to the second one, it's the, wait a second, let's see. Second one is this 4. So the second one I showed, that was the other, was the vertical. It's just, I changed the scan angle. That's all I did. If we look at number 2, this is the cross pattern, or kind of like a, not exactly a cross pattern, but it had vertical and horizontal. I just did 2 fills, basically the same or so. I changed the distance, so the vertical or the horizontal was 5 millimeters interval, and then the others was 15, so giving it pretty good. And there's just trying these different things, you can get different things. Here's the other one I did an angle of 45, and I did a crosshatch. So you could do a crosshatch. The problem with the crosshatch is if you want to do it with that other pattern I was showing before with vertical and horizontal, it's going to be the same line interval. So if you want one to be different, like if you want your verticals to be further apart, then you have to do 2 fills on that. And then number 7 is a crosshatch, but it's not at an angle. And if we skip down to, so the offset fill is very interesting. So offset fill, and I put line interval just to make it so you could see it. The offset fill follows whatever the shape is. So if you think about a CNC router, that's how they usually do when they're doing like a pocket. It's going to do either a circle or a square and start from the center. So it's the same concept. It's the same, probably the same basic commands, because we're using Gerbil or you know, so it's probably the same in that sense, right? So if we go back to our main thing here, so the other thing I did too is I tried a couple different ways of doing it, of settings, right? So I tried just my standard fill before, and some of these aren't the exact setting, but I tried 6100. My standard fill, I do a higher speed and lower power. This time on for more of a, what I would call, and I'll show it in a second, more of a engrave or a score. I should say not engrave, but a score, because you have fill, you have line, and you have offset fill. So I did more of a, what I've heard called score, these other names, but it's just, it's a fill, but I did 6100. So it burns it deeper into the wood, and you can see it better. So when we look at here, I have the 3 close up a little bit. The middle one was the one that was done in the score, so it burned deeper. So painting it, you can really see it. So it really depends if you're going to paint it or not, and how deeply you want to see it, how dark, and how deep do you want to go in. But these are easy to do, some easy patterns. Like I said, I like this, but you know, I might use it for doing some buildings or just to have pinstripes or something. And you can really see that pattern painted with this kind of dark blue. You may be able to see it here, but it depends on the lighting and stuff for that one, if it's painted. And this is the other one. I don't think I put the paint on as dark or as heavy, so you can kind of still see some of the lines. It all depends on what you're looking to do. And I used Let's get this into focus there. And I used, different ones. I did bricks before, and I used engrave or the fill pattern, just left it the normal, whatever lines per inch I normally would use for doing fills. But it didn't, it took longer. It takes longer. This really takes not that much time, and the results are pretty good. So I think I'm going to try using that. And I encourage trying these different things. Try the different fill settings with the intervals and the angles, and just crosshatch and different things. And you can come up with all sorts of cool looking stuff. And it's very easy to do. So I encourage you to try these tips and to try these and see how it goes. And just remember to like this video, share this video, and subscribe or follow the channel. Thanks again. And with that, I will remind you to never stop learning.